Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all things Doctor Who Extended Universe. Today, I'm joined by none other than the man who's making his yearly contractually obliged appearance. It's Mark Donaldson. Mark, how are you?
Hello, hello, hello. Well, I've got to say, just at the top of the episode, thank you for inviting me on this episode about interactive Doctor Who adventures. I'm not turning to page 69 with Joe Fords.
It could have happened. It could have happened. And page 69 is disgusting, as I think we all know.
It's illustrated as well, I seem to remember.
Oh, yeah. We've all seen that picture of the Ainley Master and the Fifth Doctor that somebody scribbled up once. Worse than that.
I'd just forgotten about that. Now it's back. Now it's back.
That'll be the episode image. It won't.
I can see it in my mind's eye.
Burnt there forever. Mark, you picked a little theme today.
I have, yeah.
Pray tell, what are we looking at?
Well, because when I come on, and I don't mean this as a disrespect to other guests, but I feel like I don't want it to just be like the big finish, although there is a big finish that we'll talk about. I feel like you started this podcast, it's Doctor Who Extended Universe. It's not just the Virgin New Adventures, the Missing Adventures. So whenever I come on, because it's a contractually obligated yearly engagement, I always want to do something different. And I feel we went quite basic bitch last time I was on. I just did 2 McGann stories.
Sometimes you got to go basic bitch. Sometimes you just need to be double teamed by McGann.
So I thought this time, why don't we do, and I cannot for the life of me remember why this popped into my head. It was maybe the Graham Williams documentary, but I feel like the Choose Your Own Adventure book came first. I think it was maybe Paul Quinn was talking about them on Blue Sky or Twitter or whenever it was when I first saw this. And I thought, yeah, that would be a good idea. Because I had one of those Choose Your Own Adventure Doctor Who books when I was a kid, when I was first getting into them. So we're doing one of those from the Make Your Own Adventure with Doctor Who range. We're doing Mission to Venus by William Emms. And I thought we should pair that up with Doctor Who. Is it Doctor Who and the Warlord? Meets the Warlord? Doctor Who and the Warlord.
But he does meet the Warlord.
He does, which is the text adventure game that Graham Williams sort of developed and wrote, which I had no knowledge of until that documentary on the Blu-rays. And then finally you suggested, well, if we're going to do those, why don't we do, there's a big finish that has a kind of choose your own adventure element. And so, yeah, there we go. Sorted.
Which is You Are the Doctor from the anthology.
Yes.
You Are the Doctor and Other Stories. And so it's just the first 30-minute from that we're covering today. But, it makes use of the format.
It does. And speaking of the format, that's not all.
Okay.
Now, when they brought back the Doctor Who Choose Your Own Adventure book for the new series, it was called Doctor Who Decide Your Destiny, right? That was the name of the range. So I'm giving you, Dylan Reese, the chance to decide Donaldson's drunkenness.
Hooray, cue jingle.
Hey! So I'm going to do, at various junctures throughout this episode, generally either at the start of when we're talking about one of the things, or just when my glass runs out, I'm going to put it to you to choose what I'm going to drink. So how would you like to start the podcast? Let's do this now, all right? How would you like to start the podcast?
Well, I feel like we're about to go on a very slow, infuriating adventure. So have you got anything that says dead end to you?
Well, no. I've kind of gone down the kind of maddening and confusing route.
Okay, that'll do.
For these first ones, for the Warlord. So I've got either. Now, a lot of people find, I love it. David Tennant loves it as well. But a lot of people find it quite a maddening drink. But some people have decided to turn that maddening drink into a beer. So we're going for, do you want to go with A big physician which is Vault City's Dr. Pepper flavored beer,
Oh,
8%. So
lovely.
that's your first choice.
I love a Dr. Pepper as well, and I love beer, so that should be right up my street too.
Or slightly lower percentage. Again, things that shouldn't be put together, maddening, confusing. I don't understand. Tiny Rebel, who, side note, also the brewery and the games company are kind of linked, or at least they were for a while. They did all those Doctor Who, I can't remember the games now. Was it Infinity, Doctor Who Infinity, the interactive like comic book strips?
Really?
And there was like that was Tiny Rebel, the development company.
Oh, wow.
I'll Pump Up the Jam strawberry and cream donut flavored pale ale that has been at the back of my fridge since around Christmas time. Or finally, and I'm actually quite excited about this one, but I don't want to sway you. It's Vault City's Ultimate Gobstopper, a blueberry bubblegum sour.
Wow.
So which of these maddening and strange drinks should I drink for the course of the Warlord discussion?
I'm going to do you a favour and say drink the donut one, because I've got stuff that I've had lurking since Christmas and I need an excuse to drink it. So that's the one I'm choosing for you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I will do just that.
Admittedly, it's not Graham Williams related, but it is what it is. So, Doctor Who and the Warlord was released by BBC Micro and is a text-based game. It was released sometime in February 1985. We don't know the exact date because it was the past. Other releases, Pyramids of Mars was just out on VHS.
Oh, wow.
The novelization of Planet of Fire was published, and the comic strip was Upon a Time Lord, featuring the Sixth Doctor and Perry. On television was The Mark of the Rani and The Two Doctors, and everyone's favourite Doctor Who story, A Fix with the Sontarans. So, slap bang in the middle of Colin Baker's first season. The show's about to get cancelled, but how could it get cancelled with hot merch like this?
Well, indeed.
Too hot for TV.
As the Doctor's companion, you embark on a mission to thwart a renegade Time Lord known as the Warlord. The first part of the adventure unfolds on the mist-shrouded planet Quantain in the year 2743, where a century-long war has just ended. Separated from the Doctor, while trying to rescue his friend King Varangar, you navigate over 250 locations, cross paths with interstellar gypsies, androids, and Vanguard's unpredictable guards, all whilst collecting vital items and information to continue. On your second adventure, the TARDIS whisks you to Earth in 1814 during the Battle of Waterloo, where you must outwit Napoleon and confront the Warlord, whose time-altering abuse of power threatens history, where you must restore the timeline.
Too hot for TV.
Before we start, what's your experience with sort of text-based adventure games? Because I feel like I slightly missed it.
I had completely forgotten they existed until you suggested doing this. But I do have, I had a friend at school who was a rich kid and had a computer, all sorts of computers way before, anybody else. And so he used to play text-based games because his family were early adapters of those things. And there was definitely other games that weren't text-based, but they were still sort of, I'm guessing this must have been late 80s. They were still around enough that I remember playing them and thinking they were infuriating and shit, even as a 6 or 7 year old.
Yeah. So I love a point and click. I was the point and click generation. So I was Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle, all that stuff. I ate that up when I was a kid. But yeah, the text adventures kind of is the precursor to that.
Yeah.
For those people listening who don't know what we're talking about, text-based games are essentially just any. People still make them now, like nerds who are nostalgic for this time of infuriatingly obtuse, instructions. But it's any electronic game that uses a text-based interface. So it's kind of like an interactive story. So it's you wake up in a field, we've
all been there.
£5 in your pocket, and do you want to go north, east, west, or south? So they kind of started springing up around the 1960s, and sort of developers used basically they used text characters. So it wasn't just you wake up and you're in a field. There's also a Star Trek game from 1971.
What?
in which they
So you're back
used...
here in a few months.
Well, actually, I'll be bringing up Star Trek again when we get to the Choose Your Own Adventure book. But anyway, yeah, so in 1971, there was a Star Trek game, which was essentially, it was like using like grids to kind of be like a sort of star map. So there was like a kind of battleship. It was kind of like a Star Trek digital battleships where you used like very simple codes. So like FT to fire torpedoes, but you had to like kind of figure out the right angle to fire them at and things like that. So there was that. So that's it feels slightly more sophisticated than what we get here. But a good precursor to what we get here is in 1984, Douglas Adams, obviously very early adopter of computers and sort of home computing, him and Steve Moretsky released The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text-based adventure game. And that you can still play. You can play a 30th anniversary version of that up on the BBC website. I was doing that before we started this podcast. And it's fun. There's a bit, they've added like kind of a few little, very simple visual elements. So it's a bit more enjoyable to play rather than the kind of screed of text that you get and that you have to kind of remember. What will come out of this episode is that I did get an ADHD diagnosis like a couple of years ago, but that's not what this is about. This is about me realizing that, is that a diagnosis or did I catch it? Because I feel like these text-based adventure games and the Choose Your Own Adventure books are very much like, I used to be into this, but now, as an adult, I don't have the attention span for it. And the sort of commitment. But anyway, so in 84, they released Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game. And then a year later, we get this. And obviously, Williams and Adams had worked together. I think they were, as far as I'm aware, I mean, you look at The Nightmare Fair, Williams was just as interested in computing and the kind of future for computers as Adams was. And I guess the BBC were like, well, the Hitchhiker's game did all right. Shall we do a Doctor Who one? Because it feels like a kind of natural fit, I think.
Makes sense.
Because whenever we talk about like Doctor Who computer games, there's always that thing of like, well, how do you do it? Because the Doctor, it doesn't fire a gun. Very rarely, like more than people like to say that he does, that they do. So yeah, like a text-based adventure or like a point-and-click adventure, they seem like they're more natural kind of homes for kind of Doctor Who video games. So yes, so that brings us to 85 with Doctor Who and the Warlord.
What an adventure.
What an adventure. Did you finish it?
Did I fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is exactly what this podcast is for, to explore these things, and the weirder and the more peculiar corners of the Doctor Who universe, the better. But fuck me, has this ever put me off ever covering anything like this ever again. It's the most infuriating thing that I've ever done. And I've had a conversation with J.R. Southall.
Yeah, it is infuriating because, like, there's a difference between, like I was saying, like, I don't think I have the attention span that I would have had, like, that kids would have maybe had in the 80s because they're not constantly looking at smartphones and they rely on their imaginations more, as the memes on Facebook posted by our parents keep telling us. But there is some maddening shit in this that you're like, no, that's not me paying attention. That's you, like, putting in a solution that you didn't sort of tease in any way.
Yeah.
For example, so this is online. You can, if you really want to, although Dylan and I may put you off, play it online. And you can play either side A or side B, or play it all the way through. I just played a little bit of both just to get a sense of kind of what it is. And in side B, you end up in sort of Napoleonic France, with the Doctor. And you come out of the TARDIS, and some French soldiers are chasing you, and you come to a bridge. Now, at no point, this may be because I've just skipped to side B, but at no point does it tell you that you have a box of matches in your pocket, right? What it tells you, and I wrote this down word for word, you're on the north side of the wooden bridge. Lying on its side in the road is an abandoned wagon with no wheels. The pounding feet from the south grow louder, mingled with the cries of outwitted soldiers. And it's like, what'd you do? Now, I had like a little, somebody's come up with like a walkthrough guide that can give you 100% completion if you can be asked.
Nobody's got time for that.
I could not, because even that guide, I kept messing it up and dying, and then you have to go all the way back to the start. Dark Souls has nothing on this game, you know that.
Yeah.
It's just Anyway, the solution to that is to set fire to the bridge. So you just type light bridge, and it's like the bridge is in flames, and you now can use that hide. So you hide, and the soldiers run away. And it's like, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
To set that up. It's really bizarre. Like,
it is very odd. And Napoleon Bonaparte seems to be hanging around with Robert Kilroy Silk as well, as far as I can see. There's just a character called Kilroy there. He hasn't really got any background, so I just assumed.
Is it the little cartoon Kilroy? Is that the originator of that cartoon character from the Second World War? It was like peering over a wall.
Yeah, is that him?
Is that him?
I don't know.
I never got that far in the game. I think on the side B, I got as far as about 8% in side B, but side A, 15%.
Oh, really?
Because I used the walkthrough, and then I went, oh, but what would happen if I did eat the alien food? And it says, your human stomach cannot handle the alien food, so you keel over and die.
But aren't you Doctor Who?
No, you're not.
Oh, no,
Doctor
of course
Who.
you're not. No.
You're the companion. Now, there is some interesting stuff here. So it's a male companion and the Doctor, presumably because they're going, it's only going to be boys, little boys buying this, isn't it?
Women will never use computers.
But I mean, it's either going to be little boys or, more likely, guys that have grown up with Doctor who are now in their 20s. Yeah, it's the guys in the DOAS who have got their own little BBC Micro in the house. So anyway, you're a male companion with the Doctor, and it never describes the Doctor's costume.
No.
So and on TARDIS Wiki, it's like, well, this means it could either be the second Doctor and Jamie, the fourth Doctor and Adric, or the sixth Doctor and... No, wait, is it the sixth Doctor?
Sixth Doctor.
Or the sixth Doctor just because it's the sixth and a fictional companion because it's just the sixth Doctor era. You know, I think that's kind of the general...
Maybe it's the sixth Doctor from the Killing Grounds with that... What's that bloke companion he has?
Gavin? No, it's not Gavin.
Something like that. Who knows?
It's something really, yeah. Now... Obviously, I think both Jamie McCrimmon and Adric, you could see them dying from eating alien food. So,
fair.
But yeah, it's a weird old game. It's a weird old. I mean, I say game. There's not a lot of enjoyment from it. Is there?
No. Does it in any way feel like Doctor Who? Or is it just a generic game? Have they got the idiosyncrasies of the character of the Doctor or the world and the universe that Doctor Who exists in?
I think it does, in the sense that you land on an alien planet and you're separated from the Doctor. Which that is Doctor Who plotting 101. But whether or not that's an enjoyable... Because if you're buying a Doctor Who game, surely we all kind of want to play the Doctor, right? Which is something it never does. I don't think there's... Maybe Dalek Attack, I think, is the only one.
Which is a shoot 'em up. They just have to turn the sonic screwdriver into a gun, which Russell T Davies saw and went, I'm not having any of that. And then he gave the Doctor a massive gun to kill a massive giant. But
well, that's all right. He's a horrible giant from the Whoniverse. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really obscure part of the Doctor Who universe, and I wish there was more to get my teeth into with it, but it's just a series of frustrating sentences that appear in front of you, and no matter what response you put in, you don't seem to progress forward. This is not high on the levels of gameplay if I was reviewing this on Games Master in 1996.
It's that thing of it's very early machine learning as well. So it doesn't have that intuition built into it. So there's a bit inside A where you are walking past an alien market, right? And it's on the south side of this wall. So you go, all right, we'll go south. And then it goes, you can't walk through walls. I said, all right, fucking fine. Go north, go north, go north, go west. And then you're around to the side of the wall. But I was like, go to market. You've told me there's a market there.
Yeah.
Okay. Walk me to the market. Just put me in the market. And it just goes, please be more explicit.
Take me to the fucking
market.
How
much more explicit? It's like, take me to the fucking market. And then it goes, please be more explicit. Take me to the fucking market, you cunt. Like, how much more explicit can you be than actually telling the game
Yeah.
exactly where you want to go?
Yeah. There was a few times where I put in things like, before you'd send me that cheat sheet, like, oh, keep walking, and it'd go like command not understood or be not
Yeah,
explicit or whatever it was. And it's like, well, I mean, I may not be able to do this, but tell me I can't do it. Don't tell me that you don't understand, because we were just walking forwards before this.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's infuriating. And the kind of having to kind of go all the way back to the start and start again is quite maddening, especially at
Yeah.
the start where you don't really know what you're doing. Like, it tells you that, at the start, oh, King Varangnar's guards, the Doctor has fought with him, but you've been separated.
Hmm.
So that when you encounter them, but after you've walked all the way out through like an irradiated desert and then all the way back again and searched a haystack and found a button, and then you search it again and find a needle, ho ho ho, and then you sort of find these huts. You've already forgotten that they know who the Doctor is, so you
Yeah.
spend ages trying to figure out do I show them the button that has the king's face on it? Will that help me? And it's like, no, they think you've pulled a weapon on them, so they shoot you to death,
When you should have
and they
just
get to
said,
start again.
where's the Doctor?
Yeah,
It's thoroughly frustrating. Now, this is what we should use AI for, to make better versions of this game. This is something that ChatGPT has got, locked down. A better version of this. This is finally a good use for AI. But
I don't know if it is though. So there's a lot of conversation. Well, there was a lot of conversation a couple of years ago when I was working at the National Film TV School doing the program for the first year students, and we had a talk about sort of video games and the kind of fallacy that games are getting. And this is something we'll come back to with the book. The idea that games are so expansive now. You can go anywhere in a game, like No Man's Sky. You can go anywhere. And I said, well, you can, but ultimately you're always kind of hitting the imagination of the developer. There's not that kind of like it's not going to expand into infinity that in the way that life and the illusion of free will does. We've not quite hit that point there, and yeah, I think AI in the future probably could. Well, I mean, we're not there yet, but that idea of the holodeck in Star Trek that is kind of constantly kind of responding to what you're doing within the simulation, and then
still don't know how they don't bump into the walls.
Yeah, I think there's like a
Treadmill.
There's a treadmill, or like the space around them just keeps moving with them. It's got those like the motion capture cameras. It's just tracking their movements, and it's. In fact, is that not literally how they made Wild Blue Yonder?
Quite possibly, yeah. They were on a holodeck.
There was like a little treadmill, and then there was just cameras tracking their movements that then made the sort of set around them move.
Now, not so long ago on the Time Lash, you did Graham Williams's The Nightmare Fair.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we paired that with a giggle. Yeah,
indeed. Now, this is very different, but it's been written by Graham Williams. Do we think Graham Williams really is the sort of person you should pick to write something like this? Like, there seems to be a move to him to be a writer at some point when his career in television is sort of, over to essentially. But like, I still think he's an odd choice at this point to be the guy to write this Doctor Who game.
Do you think? Because City of Death, the greatest Doctor Who story of all time.
Indeed.
Depending on who you listen to.
Mm.
And on a good day, it is.
Mm.
But that is always, David Agnew is the pseudonym of Douglas Adams and Graham Williams.
Yeah, fair.
Where, I mean, I think if you listen to the making of City of Death, and I'm sure Graham Williams has probably said this himself in like Panopticon interviews, that he was really just there keeping the door shut so that Adams couldn't escape.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of just making him. But I wonder if that reputation is why he kind of gets called in to do these things. And also with his interest in computing, he does, as a former producer of Doctor Who, as somebody who, doesn't have a co-writing credit, but has a co-writing credit on one of the best Doctor Who stories ever. Is that why they get him in?
I mean, maybe, but you'd think JNT would have had some. I know obviously JNT, I guess, had a hand in commissioning him for Nightmare Fair, but surely JNT would want to be pushing one of his own writers. But also, I wonder where this sort of represents a bygone time of where they just sort of go, well, he's vaguely interested in that. He'll do it. Like you'd never get the director of 73 Yards now and go, well, they've never written anything before. But they know Doctor Who, so let's get them to write something. But it felt like in the sort of 60s, 70s, and 80s, we were still in an era where we get one of the boys to do it from, who we vaguely, and we saw them in the bar last night, and they haven't got any work. They sort of know how story works, so get Graham Williams to do it. I wonder how much of that is in play, not just with this, but a lot of things within the Doctor Who world at that point for the tie-in stuff.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. I think also, though, I do think out of the Doctor Who writers that both past and present at this point, in 85, it's only really Douglas Adams and Graham Williams, I think, that would be interested in a project like this. And Adams isn't going to do it,
Innes Lloyd wasn't big into computers.
Well, he might have been, but it's just that kind of idea of sort of writing a text-based game. It's like a challenge for a writer who is interested in technology. Do you know what I mean?
You could almost see somebody like William Emms, for instance, dismissing it and going, well, this isn't proper writing, Give me something much more challenging.
on which more later. Yeah, I think... I do think it's that. I wish there was like a documentary about this, or like has Doctor Who Magazine ever done like a deep dive article about it? I couldn't seem to find anything beyond the game and like a kind of paper thin wiki article, and then the walkthrough guides on how to get 100%. There's not a lot about it.
I don't think there's a lot about many of the Doctor Who computer games, to be honest. Like, I don't remember seeing any big articles, and admittedly, I don't really read DW anymore, so maybe I've missed something. But it feels like somebody needs to do a big article or a book on all the Doctor Who computer games and proper deep dive on them. Not going to be me, but...
I mean, I suppose that the trouble is a lot of the companies are probably went bust, because there was that big sort of computing boom.
Yeah.
And then there was the sort of subsequent bust. So I wonder if it's not like the BBC where everything has to be sort of documented and archived.
I imagine things are missing, but there's still sort of first-hand information out there, I guess.
I would have thought so.
We're talking about the 80s and the 90s, so there must be some people that remember.
Has Graham Williams' family got like an archive? Has he got like the offer letter, the correspondence he had with whatever, I can't remember the name of the company now that released this. But yeah, I'd just be really interested to know how it came about, like how they selected Williams.
Yeah.
Like, did he pitch for it? Like, oh, here's something we should do? Because he's already, presumably at this stage, in meetings with JNT about the Nightmare Fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that would be going into production soonish, right?
Yeah.
Before the hiatus kicks in, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, because it's during the hiatus that they cancel it, and it's around this time So maybe he was actually just somebody that was a bit more around the production office at the time.
And just suggested it. I don't know. Because he would have seen, obviously, what Adams had done with Hitchhikers.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he's just had an offhanded thing where he's like developing the Nightmare Fair in the office. Has gone, oh, have you thought of, like, here's another, because it's like it's the second Doctor Who video game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There was one that was kind of more of a platformer like a year before, 2 years before.
Yeah, that's one that I'd like to have a go on at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, maybe we're overthinking it, and he's around the production office. JNT's like, oh, BBC Macro want to do a Doctor Who word-based game, and, they're 2 bottles of port in or whatever,
Sure.
and just, he goes, oh, I can do that for you. You got the commission. There you go. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
There's 20 shillings or whatever they paid people in the in the 80s, and it was a done deal. If anybody out there knows more information, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Definitely. Did you have any kind of fun? Did you have any fun with this whatsoever?
No, none at all.
Because I'm a sort of habitual tinkerer.
Right.
So I always like to kind of try and work how things work and things like that. So I was kind of just every now and again, if I had a spit, like if I work from home or like I work at a box office, and it's often quite quiet. So I would just have like a little tinker on the game, and
Yeah,
so
fair.
I got myself into some quite funny situations. Like there's a bit where just as you get offered the hovercycles by the soldiers, once you finally realize you're supposed to ask about the doctor, I carried on walking, and I ended up getting mugged. That was
What?
quite fun. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was quite fun. And then there was a bit where I accidentally, because I was using this walkthrough guide, and I accidentally like you're supposed to drop all when you get to a well because there's a rusty chain. And that's all it says. That's another point at which is like, all right, there's a rusty chain, but I'm not thinking in my head, oh, I've got all this stuff on me, and if I go down on this rusty chain, it'll break and I'll die in a well.
Yeah.
So that happened. But before that happened, I'd missed a couple of steps. And so I went, oh, drop all in the middle of the market. Realized that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Then tried to pick up all my stuff again. And it was like, oh, you are accused of being a thief and are ejected from the town.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, okay.
That's how
So,
they
like-
deal with thieves there. They just go,
Yeah.
no, not here,
Yeah.
mate.
So like there was like some fun little bits. There was also a bit where finally kind of think you're about to meet the doctor. And then you get into a room and actually he's not there. And he asks you to stand in for him. And in the room is a flagon of the doctor's favourite Beaujolais. Well, it's the fourth doctor then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the fourth doctor.
Or the
And
third.
yeah. But then also you can make the bed. So I made the bed and it says, oh, you find a toothpick in the bed. Definitely Tom Baker. You know, I can see Tom Baker rolling out of an unmade bed, leaving a toothpick behind
Absolutely.
and a half-drunk flagon of Beaujolais.
And some crusty tissues. No, is this the first Dr. Light story?
Yeah, maybe. Well,
There
no,
we go.
it's not. We've got all those Hartnell episodes where he's not in it.
Oh, yeah. No, but he is. He's just asleep in the corner.
Sure. But
Yeah.
the doctor's off doing something. You just got to try and find him.
Do you have much more to say on this?
No. Well, no. Yeah, there's a couple of fun things, Graham Williams, in terms of the writing. That you can tell he's having fun. Nobody else is having fun, but he's having fun. So there's a bit where you get locked in a cell, all right, in the French quarter. So the second side, and basically you're in a cell. There's a bunk bed on the west side of the wall. So you pull the bunk bed, and it's like, oh, there's a loose brick in the wall. What would you like to do? And you like push the brick, and the brick falls down. And you escape, and then you get caught again. And you get put back in the cell, and you go to the wall again. I said the wall has been reinforced. So then it's like, oh, okay. So you got to dig a hole in the floor, and then you go out through the floor, and then you could get thrown back in. And the floor has been reinforced, and then you got to go through the ceiling. So like he's having fun with the kind of catch and release nature of Doctor Who at that point in that kind of serialized. So I thought that was quite a fun element of it, in a thing that is otherwise utterly maddening.
Yeah, I do not have the patience to play things like this. I probably spent about 2 hours in total messing around with it. I did an hour one day and then an hour another day, and it was thoroughly infuriating. So, I mean, great that it exists, and I'm sure there were kids in 1985 who were lapping this up just to feel a little bit closer to the Doctor. But
Yes.
I'd rather play Destiny of the Doctors.
But 40 years later, computer games have moved on. Doctor Who's moved on. Although, has it? We're back in another period of uncertainty, so maybe not.
Exactly. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because we neither of us have completed it.
You think it gets really good?
I don't think it does, no. I think it is.
He turns into Billy Piper at the end.
I think I am going to have to go clanger because it is utterly maddening.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be utterly maddening in 1985 as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's infuriating. You may not have the comparison point in 1985, but it's still not intuitive enough for it to be good.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Too hot for TV.
So the next thing we're going to cover is Make Your Own Adventure with Doctor Who, Mission to Venus. This came from Seven House and was released in October of 1986, and it was written by William Emms.
It's only bloody William Emms off of Galaxy 4.
Yeah, a triumphant return if ever there was one.
Indeed.
News at the time. Colin Baker made a surprise appearance on Wogan on the 26th of August, and he was unshaven. That's basically the article. I presume they meant his face and not his pubes.
That was when he went full GNT, wasn't it? He had like the big curls and the beards.
2 new releases is also news. The first is a record of the new signature theme tune by Dominic Glynn. At the moment, a cover is still to be decided upon. Ultimately, it was the title sequence. And secondly, BBC Video hope to release another Doctor Who story by November, this time Death to the Daleks.
Ooh.
And have you ever wanted to wear Anthony Ainley's baseball cap?
Yes.
Well, you would have been in luck had you been around in 1986 with the Keep Britain Tidy group who put Anthony Ainley's baseball cap up for auction. The cap worn by the Master, not in Doctor Who, just worn by him, went up for auction on May the 1st by the anti-litter campaign launched in Birmingham.
Wow.
Exciting stuff.
I love the idea that we're living through a mad time in America right now. I don't know what's happening in LA as we record this, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And the idea of kind of make America great again on a baseball cap. But we had Keep Britain Tidy. It was a nicer time, simpler time when baseball cap slogans could be like progressive and positive.
Again, if anybody out there's got that baseball cap, let us know. I'd like to give it a sniff. Does it still smell of him?
Probably not. Also, how would Anthony Ainley fit a baseball cap on top of those 2 wigs that he's...
Very true. Elsewhere, The Fury from the Deep novelisation had just come out. The comic strip was changes featuring the 6th Doctor and Perry, and on television, it was Mind Warp. So we fast-forwarded the whole cancellation, the brief cancellation, come out the other side, Doctor Who's back, better than ever, Anthony Ainley's lost his cap, and William Emms is back, baby.
Too hot for TV.
The Doctor, Perry and you crash land aboard the ship Medusa, which is en route to Venus on a vital rescue mission. The ship, damaged by a meteor strike, is on deadly collision course with the planet, while tensions rise amongst the crew and strange intelligent plant life kept sealed in containers begins to exert a dangerous psychic influence. As mutiny brews and the alien threat grows, the Doctor must navigate sabotage, hallucinations and divided loyalties to save the ship and its passengers. With multiple branching paths and outcomes, the story challenges you to make the right choices before time and fuel runs out.
Too hot for TV.
Well, before we do this, Dylan, it's time to decide Donaldson's drunkenness once again. Now, William Emms in Galaxy 4 taught us not to give in to stereotypes. The sexy blonde women can actually also be evil, murderous aliens, okay?
A lot of them are.
But I am going to give in to stereotypes with the next 4 drinks choices. So first up, we've got just some good old single malt whiskey.
Excellent.
Okay, so that's the first choice. Free pour, obviously. Second of all, we've got a soft drink because why not play along? I've got a can of Iron Brew's new Nessie Nectar flavour. Now, I was in Glasgow last weekend, and there was a bus stop advert for this new flavour of Iron Brew that said a sweet treat from a legendary teat. So it is literally a can of Scarrison milk. So there we go. So that's that option. On to the slightly harder stuff. I have a bottle of Imperial Iron Brew, which is Vault City's 8.4% Iron Brew flavour sour, and it is delicious.
It looks delicious.
Good. It's so good. So that's that. And finally, just a can of Wild Drover from the Loch Lomond Brewery, which has a Highland cow on it. Can I get more Scottish than that? Can you? Loch Lomond, a Highland cow, a hazy IPA. What would you like to choose?
I think I want to see you drink the boozy Iron Brew.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Especially after I made you clear out the fridge with the last one, I think this time.
It wasn't bad, actually, although I think it has lost a bit of its strawberry and cream flavour because it was quite drinkable. It just tasted like beer.
So that brings us nicely on to William Emms's iconic return to Doctor Who.
Well, I was going to ask, what's your relationship with Choose Your Own Adventures?
I do remember having some as a kid. I do remember having this as a kid. and indeed the Pip and Jane Baker one. I don't think I finished either of them, possibly due to the writing style of this one, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But they were definitely something that played a part in my childhood, although I'm struggling to remember like a specific one. But it was just like when the book fair came to school, that you were always walking away with some sort of choose your own adventure. What about yourself?
Yeah, so I definitely had some. I definitely had one of these, not this one, not the Rani one, but I had the Dave Martin one with K9 on the front, and the Doctor kind of holding a little boy protectively from some weird space station or whatever in the background. So I definitely had that. That was the one that I bought from, there was like a little second-hand shop just round the corner from our flat that I grew up in Edinburgh. And it was next door to a brothel. Well, I didn't know it was a brothel at the time, but it was called The Gentle Touch, named after a well-regarded BBC television show about police women, but fair enough. So yeah, so I remember that. I remember being excited at the idea of a Doctor Who Choose Your Own Adventure book because they'd been part of my childhood. And I distinctly remember Give Yourself Goosebumps, which was Goosebumps' version of Choose Your Own Adventure. So I did a little digging because I was like, I've never actually like looked into like where this all starts, you know? And it started with a man called Edward Packard, who in sort of the late 60s, early 70s, decided that he was telling his kids a bedtime story. And again, in a stark reflection against the times we live in now, he was making up that bedtime story. He wasn't just putting on Stephen Fry reading Harry Potter on Audible. He was coming up with the story himself, all right? And so as he was telling his kids a bedtime story, he kind of ran out of ideas on where to take the story. So basically gave his kids the idea, like, oh, well, maybe he goes off in this direction and does that. What would happen then? Or does he do this? And the kids would decide and he would take the story from there. And he thought, hey, I wonder if there's a book in this like that we could do. So he wrote The Adventure. I mean, it's a very clunky title. He wrote The Adventures of You on Sugarcane Island.
Oh, wow.
Which he touted around in 1970.
Oh, no, was it?
He touted this around in 1970 and was rejected by 9 different publishers. But then in 1975, he did sell it to an independent publisher who sold 8,000 copies, which at the time was like quite a decent number for like an indie publisher. And then from there, between 1979 and 1998, Choose Your Own Adventure, specifically the sort of Packard version, which was with Bantam Books, sold like around 250 million copies, which is pretty
fucking hell.
Like they were quite a big deal, I think, in the 80s, until like computer games became more accessible for kids. And
did William Emms' version sell that many as well?
Well, so there was hundreds and hundreds of different ones, including sort of titles such as You Are a Superstar, You Are a Genius, You Are a Monster. But enough about fandom's relationship with Russell T Davies. Other titles included Mutiny in Space, Invaders from Within, The Antimatter Universe, and The War with the Mutant Spider Ants. So, I mean, a Doctor Who version of this was pretty much a foregone conclusion.
Inevitable.
Right? However, these weren't published by Bantam Publishing, which were the ones sort of responsible for the Packard patented Choose Your Own Adventure. These were published by Severn House in the UK and Ballantine in the US. Now, Ballantine did a lot of these sort of Choose Your Own Adventure books licensed. So they did sort of Star Wars ones, James Bond ones, Indiana Jones ones, and Doctor Who ones. And the Doctor Who ones, as we've already kind of alluded to, brought back a lot of some writers who had just written for the show, Pip and Jane Baker, some writers who, had written for the show fairly recently, Dave Martin, and some writers who hadn't written for the show in about 20 years.
Yeah, William Emms.
Yeah.
William Emms, who I believe is currently the only classic series writer people can't trace his estate.
Oh, wow.
So he may have quite the legacy, but apparently if you want I'm 99% sure it's him, but if you want to use his characters, you have to put the money aside in a bank account so that if anybody comes to claim it, there's basically like a loophole in the law that says you can do that because that you cannot establish the copyright of the Dravins or the Chumbleys. So since we're in a wilderness right now, let's start the Emms verse.
Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent.
Chumblies, Dravins, more Chumblies and Dravins, you know what to do with.
Rills.
Yeah, ooh, love a rill.
And all the cast of this exciting book as well, I guess.
So, yeah, well, yes. So it's been 20 years since William Emms last wrote for Doctor Who. Do you think he has moved with the times? Based on this
No,
book?
in many ways, he's regressed. This is almost like pre-Doctor Who. This is Boy's Own Adventure. If you'd have told me this was a 50s annual story or something like that for like some boys magazine, I would have believed it. Certainly when he gets the commission, he doesn't go, well, I'll see what Doctor Who's doing now. I'll bring it right up to date. He just goes, oh, there was that story I pitched called The Imps for the second Doctor. I'll use bits of that. And so we end up with this. I fucking hate William Emms. Do you know why? Because there's a panel from an 80s Doctor Who convention with like a bunch of 60s writers on, and he goes, the thing is, Doctor Who isn't very good anymore. The stories just aren't as good. And he's talking about Trial and the first McCoy season. And it's like, you wrote this and Galaxy 4. And you've got the nerve to say that fucking Mind Warp and Paradise Towers are shit. Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Are they perfect productions? No. But your prowess as a writer is not comparable to either of those things.
I was about to say it's like when Christopher H. Bidmead slagged off Russell T Davies, but maybe he had a point. He just brought it up a bit early. Not sure. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? Because obviously this... Well, you'll have done your little synopsis at the start. That was quite patronising. Your little synopsis.
Your little synopsis.
Yeah, your little reading it out over TARDIS.
I use AI now. Use AI.
But yeah, so it is a kind of retooling of the Imps, which was a story he kind of drafted for Troughton's first series, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be in the Underwater Menace slot, so...
But then did it not get moved around, and there was like talk of like, he was ill, and then they were like, oh, can you also write out Ben and Polly?
Yeah, so it was going to be... Then it was going to be in the Faceless One slot, and then it was just like, this isn't working, which...
But it is interesting, the Ben Jackson element of it.
Yeah.
I can see working as a kind of department, because you could see him, because it's all set on a spaceship that has like a naval crew, but not like Enlightenment. It's like basically man went into space, and rather than kind of come up with like a Star Trek style astronauts, like no, it's just a navy but in space.
Yeah.
You could see him kind of leaving on that ship, and it would be more appropriate.
It's a reasonably interesting take, not explored with any depth at all, but
no.
Somebody could do a really good version of this story, not William Emms.
Yes, yeah. But also, like, because there is a really interesting line where he talks about how the sort of regimented nature of it's maybe a little bit sort of, stuffy Tory, kids are too soft nowadays kind of thing. But the bit where he talks about the kind of the idea of regimented militaristic space travel was a means to kind of stop people going insane, because automation had come in.
Yeah.
And was doing things for everybody. So people didn't do sort of physical things anymore. So the idea of having a spaceship in which you still had to turn the wheel and you still had to do all the kind of manual labor and all that kind of thing, I think it's actually like a really interesting sci-fi idea.
Is it quite relevant? Is William Emms? I've changed my mind. He's a fucking genius, isn't he?
He's a soothsayer.
In years to come, we shall worship this book. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So, in terms of the story, how is he in terms of a writer? Does this feel like a Sixth Doctor story? We've said it feels a bit regressive. Like, is there any defining sort of characteristics for the Sixth Doctor and like its era?
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like there's a lot of times reading it, I felt it was the First Doctor, which is why I was really interested, because I always just assumed the Imps was a unmade First Doctor story. But then obviously I was like, oh wait, no, it was the Second Doctor. That's interesting.
But at the time it was written, it's sort of like, did he even know Or if he knew, he was probably still writing the Doctor in that guise.
In that mode, because there's a line, isn't there, where you and Perry are trying to get the Doctor to leave, and he's like, you must understand, my experiments take us into dangerous places, and I have to experience, new vegetation like this. And that feels like a very first Doctor take on the character. The idea of the Doctor as a kind of traveling scientist who doesn't really care about the welfare of his companions as long as he gets to learn science stuff. And you get a bit of that in Troughton's first series, absolutely. But it does feel more Hartnell-esque than Baker, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you can see the Sixth Doctor ignoring his companions' feelings and emotions for whatever reason, but it's not in the name of science, It's because he's a big blustering idiot.
But he kind of finds a bit of a soulmate, doesn't he?
Yeah.
In sort of Burrigan, the captain of the ship, who is again a kind of bombastic kind of character. And the way that Emms, whenever Burrigan's on the page, he's always described very... So am I supposed to fancy Burrigan?
Yeah, I think William Emms maybe was in the Navy and perhaps had a little thing or two for his commanding officers.
This is quite good. No man of such a temperament knows why he is so born. There is a fire in the belly, directed one knows not where. Possibly it is against life itself, the fact of having been born. The mark of the man is that he keeps it locked within. When it erupts, it is in private. The fury is there, but so also is the intellect to contain it. Personal death is of no importance, but the survival of others is. Such a man was Burrigan. You could not help but feel wonder as you watched him stand there as though he were carved out of rock. He was waiting. He was prepared to stand there forever until something he could understand revealed itself, and he was entirely erect. That last bit. But you know what I mean? It's very kind of purple language. And it's a kid's book. You're like, all right, Jesus Christ.
I was expecting the Master to be in it, to be honest, because...
I always thought the Master was in this. Because the cover's got the guy with the beard on it.
Yeah, which presumably is Burrigan, right?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Burrigan.
But then it's this thing of the cover art isn't... I mean, it's cool, but it also isn't great when you're looking at the Colin Baker likeness. So you're like, oh, that's clearly a Poundland Master. Or, they don't want to pay for the rights to draw the actual face. I can't help but wonder whether that's intentional and they're trying to draw people in that way, or whether it's just a coincidence.
I think it is maybe because I think he is described as kind of like a big kind of because he looks a bit like John Rhys Davies on the cover, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's described as like a big. I mean, he's described as the sheer power of Burrigan filled the control room. There he stood as if carved from rock, waiting for he knew not what, but totally immovable. No, you would not wish to be his enemy. He would tread you underfoot like an insect, and you'd fucking love it. Fucking love it. I mean, that's how it's written.
And then you have to call him Daddy for the rest of
for the rest of the book. Turn to page 57.
So it's written in a very interesting way, which I'm assuming a lot of these books are, which is you and the Doctor arrive, you do this, you do that. How did you find that?
Because you got to put yourself in the head of a kid in the 80s who's into Doctor Who. And I think it's actually a really good idea to be like, you're Doctor Who's companion. Doctor Who has invited you aboard the TARDIS, and you're going to have this adventure, and you're going to help influence the way it goes. I think it's a great idea for kids. I'm not surprised they brought it back. I'm kind of surprised they brought it back because it was the 2000s, and I thought all that kind of stuff had kind of gone by the wayside. But they bring it back with Tennant. There's a few Matt Smith ones. There's a few Capaldi ones.
And there's a River Song one on the way.
There's a River Song one on the way, apparently, yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if they're still written like that, but I can see how in the 80s or the 70s or whatever, where we're not used to, VR headsets and sort of real-time computer games where you're playing online and you can communicate with people in Nigeria and in Australia and things like that, where it would be it was shocking to read it and go, not that I went, oh my God, I'm in Doctor Who. But an 8-year-old in the 80s, I could see them going, oh wow, this book's talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Mills of This Parish, he was talking about that the other day, where it was the cover of one of them, and it was just like only you can save Doctor Who. That's right, you, Michael. Stop sitting there and eating crisps and get out there and save the universe. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the mindset of it. Interestingly, the Pip and Jane Baker one, I read a little bit because that was the first one released in the UK. I think they changed the order in the States. But that is, I'm pretty sure the TARDIS lands on your street.
Oh, that's cool.
And you go into the TARDIS, and then it's like, right, we're off on an adventure. I'm trying to stop the Rani, and you've got to help me, kind of thing.
But it's something we see that carries on into the 90s and even into the noughties. Like when me and Cy Hart did the Doctor Who commercials, and we got onto the action figure commercials that Character Options did in the first, it was always you and Doctor Who defeating the deadly Daleks. Oh, beat Rose Tyler. Oh, face the deadly Krillitanes. And you're like,
yeah,
that is how things were, and I guess still are, marketed to kids as like, you be part of that adventure. And there's something quite wholesome and warming about that approach to it. It's not at a time where Doctor Who fans are trying to, in the 80s, want Doctor Who to desperately taken seriously, and by the time we get to this McCoy era novelizations, they're almost not written for kids anymore.
Almost.
Well, it's nice to know that, like, actually, these things are still going at Doctor Who's core audience, which is a bunch of 8-year-olds. And perhaps they didn't want to read the 160-page Fury from the Deep novelization that came out that month.
Yeah.
But this thin little thing that involved them in the adventure was actually really exciting.
But also, that's how kids play as well, though, isn't it? As kids, we kind of put ourselves into the thing.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing it. We're like putting the adventures together. And I don't think this always works, but like I think as a kind of concept, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
There's some stuff where there's an element of it where the imps sort of make you hallucinate things. And basically if you make the wrong decision, you just end up in some spaffed off boys' own adventure things where you're like a race car driver and then your car crashes and you're burned to death. And, and that's like
all the things kids love.
Yeah. Race car driver. There's race car drivers. I think there's one where you're like a pirate on the high seas or something. And Burrigan's the captain, obviously, because you really fancy Burrigan.
There's no way he'd be working below decks, not Burrigan, unless he was buggering the cabin boy.
So yeah, there's all that kind of stuff, which is a bit like you're just putting this in here to just fill page because, and this is the thing with Choose Your Own Adventure books, and it's the thing with what I was saying about how a lot of these kind of interactive adventures, the Choose Your Own Adventure books, the writer knows what way they want to turn that story. So there's no if you go, I'll turn to page 45 and help Perry in the kitchen, that is always going to either be, well, that wasn't what you were supposed to do, you stupid idiot. You're dead now. Go back to the page and continue the story as I want the story to play out. Me, the author of this book. There's no kind of like interesting way that the narrative would then kind of continue from that point.
I just realised we should have done Attack of the Grask with this as well, shouldn't we?
Well, I think we did talk about it, but then I don't know if you can still get it. Can you?
Christmas special.
Okay.
I'll tell you what William Emms doesn't want you to do is finish the fucking book too soon. Because if you ever get to a point where, say you're on chapter 4 and it goes, well, to go this way, go to chapter 6, go that way, go to chapter 7, go this way, go to chapter 18. You're going to be dead when you get to chapter 18 and have to go back to the start. I learned that lesson a couple of times thinking, I could get through this book in an hour. But no, took a little bit longer, had to go the routes that he wanted me to.
I was the same. I thought I was going to, that was it. I was going to a gig and I was like, I've got a bit of time before the gig because I just went straight from work. So I had a couple of hours. So I'll just sit in a pub and just do this. I had not finished that book by the time the gig had started.
Well, I did the same when I met you in Leeds quite recently. And I was sat in a pub for an hour beforehand and I thought, I'll have this nailed by the time I'm done here. Nope. I had to pick it up 2 more times.
Yeah.
In order to get the end.
Because it's not just turn to page 12, turn to page 16, there's also like dice games in it. There's anagrams that you've got to solve.
Yeah, it's a proper little interactive thing for a kid to do. And because on one hand, I'm a 41-year-old man who's going, I want to get through this as quickly as possible. This isn't stimulating literature for me in any way, shape or form. not like a new adventure. But on the other hand, I'm really intrigued by what it is, and like, you know, wanting to give it good coverage because I like it makes an interesting podcast. And I'm generally like, this is a sort of entertainment I haven't experienced for 30 years. I've forgotten all about. And so I'm enthralled in this world of William Emms that isn't meant for me, that I've got no nostalgia about. But I'm just like, this is a whole new world in a way.
It is really interesting, isn't it? And I mean, I think also what I found really interesting was I think he writes Perry I think he writes Perry better than most of the telly writers in the 80s.
Yeah. She has a bit of agency. I mean, as much as you can in a book like this, but she's got a bit of a character, but she's not just a squealing. Basically, she doesn't just get perved over.
No. And in fact, the only bit where she does is the bit where the imps turn up and there's these invisible hands all over her or something like that. But that turns out to be the timeline that you shouldn't have taken. And
exactly.
That's very wrong. She does almost get boiled alive. And you have to roll a dice. You have to roll dice to save Perry from being boiled alive.
Maybe the invisible hands touching her and the timeline that shouldn't have been taken is a meta comment on the show at the time.
Quite possibly.
Maybe this is actually a deconstruction of Doctor Who itself, and we should all be grateful that this is the meta text, the ultimate, meta text of Doctor Who.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not. But it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So speaking of the bit where Perry almost gets boiled alive, did you at any point make the decision to try and get the Doctor to leave at that point?
Yeah, there was a point where I tried to get him to leave, and that didn't go well either.
So I did that, and there's a bit where you just batter the Doctor senseless and throw him in the TARDIS.
I didn't get that.
It's amazing.
Which, to be fair, more companions should do.
That was my immediate thought. I was like, why hasn't Perry done this before? Why has it taken till now for her to batter this guy to senseless, you know?
When I finished The Warlord, or not finished, when I finished playing The Warlord, I was like, I never want to do one of these again. At some point, I would happily, for this podcast, do the Pip and Jane one, because I can only think it'll be more ridiculous in a way.
Yeah,
and
probably.
I kind of want to go on Pip and Jane's adventure. And as we now know, in the year of 2025, they got the last laugh, you know?
Yeah. God love them.
Indeed. And like any new bit of Pip and Jane Doctor Who, I'm actually a bit more there for than I think. Like, there's been a Pip and Jane renaissance, I think. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed doing their BBV a few years ago. I'd probably like to do their Choose Your Own Adventure. And who knows, maybe one day I'll even read their novels of the Doctor Who stories. Because there's just something quite weirdly wholesome about Pip and Jane Baker, even though we all know that secretly Jane was an evil bitch.
I don't know if it was that secret.
No, fair. Do we have anything else we want to say on this?
All I want to say, which is maybe not ideal for an audio medium, but look at the American covers for these.
Oh,
they are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
They look like prog rock covers, you know? That they're proper, like, sort of big, sort of sci-fi, like, fantasy paintings, you know?
That's where the Disney money went. Mission to Venus by William Emms, the Find Your Fate one, in America, the Doctor is a passenger on a doomed runaway spaceship. You are his only hope. That's what it says on the cover.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's the Doctor kind of overwhelmed by the kind of plants, isn't it? He's kind of, like, trying to reach out. Do you know, it's like, they're really... Like, those are way better than the kind of weird sort of kiddie paintings that we get from the UK ones.
I'm looking at Invasion of the Ormazoids, which is the Philip Martin one.
Oh, yes.
And that the person on the front cover could be Jimmy Savile, right? And it's supposed to be the Doctor.
Yeah, I know the one you mean, yeah.
But then you look at the American version, and it's like the Doctor on the floor looking up at a god coming out of the sky, and you're like,
yeah,
the Americans,
that's pretty cool.
They had it so right.
They did.
Again, like, God bless this weird little world. Oh, and of course the Rani is in the Pip and Jane one.
Yeah. She's got like a time disruptor or manipulator or something like that. Can't remember what it's called.
Brilliant. I mean, fantastic stuff. When I was first getting into Doctor Who and collecting Target books from charity shops and secondhand shops, that you pick one of these up every now and then.
Yeah.
And you realise it wasn't proper Doctor Who, so you'd put it down. But I'm absolutely here for it. I think it's such a thing of a bygone time. But as you say, I can see why they will bring them back from time to time, because I think any 10-year-old, 8-year-old that loves the show will get immersed in a book like this. And if it's their favourite Doctor, even more so.
And I do wonder if there's like an element of, it's hard to get kids to read books. Like, I love reading now as an adult, but I don't think, I probably read maybe a bit more as a kid than some, but it was still hard. And I think that kind of idea of giving kids like a kind of like something interactive as part of it, I think can maybe work in a way that just reading text doesn't. It kind of breaks it up. It gives you a bit of agency. It gives you a bit of control over the story, even though it doesn't really. But you know what I mean. It gives the illusion.
It's a more exciting way of reading. And like, as a kid, I only really wanted to read Doctor Who books, but I was a weird kid.
Yeah.
In general, though, the thought of reading, and in a way, the thought of reading now makes you go, oh, if it's something I don't want to read, but I have my own agency, so I only read things I want to read. So you find those things. But if they'd have said to me in your book report at school, you've got 10 genres to cover, but they could all be choose your own adventures, I think there's probably like a more exciting way in,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe I'm talking bollocks, but all I'm saying is
choose your own adventure books on the curriculum. That's what that's cool for me.
Exactly. Yeah. So, choose your own adventure. William Emms, The Second Coming. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
Now, I feel like we just there was like a massive surge of positivity there.
Emms for president.
Man, what a wonderful, crazy time. But I think the story itself, I don't think there's any escaping the fact it's a bit of an average meander.
Yeah.
But I love that these books exist.
Yeah.
But it's still an average meander.
100%, and I definitely will revisit the others at some point. So it's a very average meander, but we're giving a thumbs up for the format. And also, if ever there was an average meander, it's a story where you literally have to go back to the start again and again and again.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Too hot for TV.
The final thing we're going to cover today in our Choose Your Own Adventure theme is You Are the Doctor. Now, when we were chatting about which Choose Your Own Adventures we were going to do, I suddenly remembered somewhere in the back of my mind that somebody had obviously used this as a Doctor Who plot at some point. So I thought it'd be nice to throw in something a bit more contemporary. So You Are the Doctor was released as part of You Are the Doctor and Other Stories, which was released on the 16th of December 2015 from Big Finish Productions. It was written by John Dorney, directed by Ken Bentley, and produced by David Richardson. News at the time: Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat would return for one more season of Doctor Who.
Hey.
Which, obviously was a great season, and we know now that perhaps not everybody wanted to be there, but there we go. Or was not wanted to be there. Also, already lost to time. I remember what a big thing this was. The BBC launched the BBC online store. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I remember they launched it with animated Dad's Army episodes.
And the animated Power of the Daleks. So I didn't own the DVD of the animated Power of the Daleks until they did like the new version, because I paid like my £8 to get it on the BBC Store app, which obviously I would have forever.
Yeah.
And it just, in the, the streaming verse, it was that sort of point of like people were trying different things, and downloads were still a thing. And I think it was a bit more akin to like buying a film on iTunes.
Yeah, it was that kind of thing, wasn't it? It was like a marketplace for sort of BBC stuff. But yeah, it just didn't really take off, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is annoying that they didn't let you keep your purchases.
I mean, welcome to the world of digital media.
That is the way of digital media, yeah, absolutely.
I don't use iTunes for anything, but I wonder if I opened it up, whether the Web of Fear and Enemy of the World would still be on my iTunes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I owned those as well. But I didn't get Power of the Daleks on the BBC store. I got it from the BFI. So basically, when you bought, they don't do this anymore for obvious reasons. When you bought a ticket for the BFI screening of Power of the Dalek, they gave you the DVD. So they posted out the
Wow.
DVD to everybody that booked a ticket.
Then they realised it was like 7 months apart.
It was something. There was a bit of a gap, but obviously they don't do that with the Blu-ray collections because that would be quite an expensive ticket, or a very cheap Blu-ray box set, depending
Either
on what
way.
way you look at it.
Other releases at the time from Big Finish, we had Torchwood, One Rule. We had 2 Seventh Doctor, Benny and Ace New Adventures adaptations, Theatre of War and All-Consuming Fire. We had The War Doctor in Only the Monstrous and The Diary of Riversong Series 1. Now that's an interesting thing. I didn't realise they were doing Riversong spin-offs when Riversong was still in the show, because we would have just had, well, as I'm about to come to, The Husbands of Riversong was about to be on TV.
Did it not get released like the fucking night after or the night of?
Maybe it did.
I feel like there was something, because they did it again with Twice Upon a Time. I don't think they released the David Bradley ones, but they announced that he was going to do some
very
Big
interesting.
So like it was at that time where Moffat was kind of working with Big Finish and be like, oh well, you can have River Song and maybe we'll do this. I do distinctly remember that being like on Christmas Day, like Husband's River Song went out, and then there was a thing of like, oh, and there's a Diary of River Song box you can download now or within the week or something like that.
Maybe.
It's quite good, that first series. I remember. I quite enjoy the River Song.
Me too.
Stuff, actually.
It's sort of, I think most people fell off at that point where she appears in like random episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
But I remember the first 4 or 5 being really good. And then when I jumped back in recently for the podcast for Series 9, I was like, oh no, this is still good. I think there was just possibly like 1 or 2 box sets starting with that one that were just a bit shit. And so everybody just sort of fell off them. But actually, like, you forget, like, the Tom Baker one, and the one where she met the 7th and 6th Doctors. I remember them all being quite fun.
Yeah, the Tom Baker one was great.
Yeah.
Just the idea of, like, they go, well, what would happen if the Doctor was actually, like, if it was the Doctor that remembered the romantic relationship rather than River? And what if that Doctor was Tom Baker?
Yeah, brilliant. Dirty.
It's
There's something about those 2 people together is just dirty.
Yeah.
Other releases, K9 and Company was released in audiobook form by BBC Physical Audio. And then we had everyone's favourite BBC books released, The Legends of Ashilda. The colouring book first came out from Puffin Books. The comic strip was The Dragon Lord, featuring the 12th Doctor and Clara. And on BBC One, of course, we had Hellbent, The Husbands of Riversong, and my personal favourite Doctor Who story, Sprout Boy Meets a Galaxy of Stars. Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is, because I almost covered it on the Time Lash soap opera special with Mark Harrison and Lee off the Polis box. Because, it's got Dot Cotton and the 12th Doctor standing side by side.
Yeah.
As a Christmas ident, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a 60-second animated. I mean, on TARDIS Wiki, they call it a mini episode, but it's an ident.
It's an ident.
Yeah.
It's an ident. Yeah, they're all like little claymation or like marionette figures of like Dot Cotton and Peter Capaldi, and
a classic.
Lovely.
Yeah. Too hot for TV.
After Ace pilots the TARDIS onto a cluttered Porcian spaceship, the Doctor and Ace face multiple deadly paths and restarts, all orchestrated by a mysterious voice challenging the Doctor's choices. As they navigate the ship, they uncover that the bumbling alien Porcians, Chimbley and Keith, have enslaved the planet's population using psychic implants and a monstrous device called the Resurrectionist, which reanimates the dead to perfect invasion strategies through repeated trial and error. Ultimately, the Doctor and Ace manage to free the populace by unleashing the Resurrectionists, toppling the Porcian regime, and once again affirming the Doctor's faith in second chances.
Too hot for TV.
So, that brings us to You Are the Doctor. Have you heard this one before? Oh, wait, no, you drinks. Yes, you drinks.
Yes, before we start, because I must have a drink.
You must. You look parched, Mark.
Now, we're reaching we're winding down now. This is the last thing we're going to talk about. So, basically, Dylan, decide Donaldson's drunkenness. What should I have as a nightcap as we bring this podcast to a close? I've still got a whiskey. So there's still the bottle of whiskey there.
I know you like a whiskey.
There's also a bottle of Dos Hombres, which is the mezcal. Well, I wouldn't say made by, but sold by Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul off of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I've got a bottle of that in the cupboards that I trot out for special occasions. I think I opened this actually. In fact, I know I did for Space Babies.
Ah,
So it was like, oh, special occasion. Doctor Who's back. Russell T Davies is back.
I'm surprised there's any left.
Or finally, because I bought this ages ago for the very purpose of drinking it on an episode of Too Hot for TV. Not that I'm swaying your decision. It can just go in the cupboard for next year's appearance. It is a bottle of Nerd Brewing's barrel-aged Campfire Toasted Marshmallow Imperial Stout. Now, why have I said that this is the ideal beer for Too Hot for TV? Because it's called Downtime.
Amazing. Wow. Look, crack that open and say big cheers to Beverly Cressman, the original Kate Stewart.
Yes.
And here she is now.
Well,
Excellent.
Here's the Bev Cress.
To Bev. You can catch her on QVC these days.
Ooh.
What does it smell like? Does it smell like a brigadier's daughter? Make of that what you will. Tweed.
Yeah, it does taste like a campfire. Because it's a toasted marshmallow. That's it. It's not a marshmallow. It's toasted marshmallow. It's nice. It's nice.
Excellent.
It's like a nice kind of smoke. Oh, God, yeah. I do get the toasted marshmallow at the kind of end there. Oh, it's nice.
Nice. So, you are the Doctor. Have you heard this before?
I never have. I think I was aware of the box set, but I wasn't aware that that's what You Are the Doctor was, as this kind of interactive Big Finish audio. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so this is... I must have stopped listening to all of, like, every monthly release, because there was a point I stuck with the monthly range for a very long time. But I'm sure I'd stopped by this. Actually, no, I wouldn't have. This is around the time that I stopped, because I didn't like Series 8 of Doctor Who, and I didn't like Series 7. So I remember getting my fix from the monthly range more. And then I really liked Series 9, and that's when I petered off. So this would have probably been one of the last ones I listened to, like the whole anthology. And I can't remember any of them, but this one stuck in my mind because it's, you know, in many ways, it's a unique and novel concept. And in other ways, you're like, I can't believe it took Big Finish like 15 years to do this.
And also, when was Bandersnatch? You know, the Black Mirror, interactive Black Mirror episodes?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there was some kind of resurgence.
Yeah, hang on. Let me look that up.
Yeah.
We'll do a seamless edit. Of course, Bandersnatch wouldn't actually be for another 3 years. It was 2018.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I just feel as if there was something in the air. So Stranger... So now I haven't had time to verify this, but I was reading something earlier on when I was doing my little Choose Your Own Adventure summary that suggested that the Stranger Things font was heavily inspired by the Choose Your Own Adventure font.
Okay.
Now, Stranger Things was 2016, wasn't it?
Around then,
when that started?
Yeah.
It was around then, 2016, 2017. So I feel like there was that kind of like 80s nostalgia thing starting to kind of bleed through into mainstream culture. Not that Big Finish is mainstream culture, but so yeah, I can see how, I suppose, and also it's John Dorney who has written a fair few Doctor Who stories, and I think it's part of a kind of 4 sort of single episode, 30-minute things. I can see how you would go, oh, that'd be quite a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
What if we do like a kind of interactive Doctor Who episode? Because we've never really had one, like in terms of, you feel like the telly show might have tried to do something.
I guess we come back to Attack of the Grask, which was a red button one, wasn't it? But it was 20 minutes. And I remember, like, it wasn't so much that it was, there was definitely a couple of you go that way, you die. But a lot of it was just move left or move right.
Yeah.
You know, it was somewhere, although it was filmed, it was somewhere between like a computer game / immersive experience and an episode of Doctor Who. But it wasn't as, this one's a lot more well thought out, which we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember playing Attack of the Grask, and it felt a bit like, did you ever play any of those VHS board games in the 90s? Right.
Yes,
I had the Star Trek The Next Generation one, and the biggest regret, I think this is the biggest regret I had. I sold it at a car boot sale for like £7 or something. I wish I'd kept it because I bought a VHS player because I had so much fun playing that with my family. Like, it was so great. And interestingly, on the subject of Star Trek, one of my favorite bits of recent Star Trek spin-off media is this, which is Star Trek Lower Decks Warp Your Own Way, which is a choose your own adventure graphic novel,
Amazing.
like, for Lower Decks. And it makes a whole virtue of the fact that, like, the story is very much like, well, wait a minute, why is this happening again? Why am I making these choices? Like, and it plays with things like, oh, what you need to, like, you get to a certain point, it goes, oh, you need to add the 2 numbers from the choices and go to that page number. And it plays around with the form because it knows that it's being read by people who grew up as kids playing Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Which is sort of
And
what
that's what this does. Yeah, exactly.
So when you experienced it, did you just listen to it through because you can just listen to it through, or did you play the skip forward, skip backwards?
I did the I played it because I wanted to, because I knew there's an audiobook version which is just you just play it through, but there's a multi-track version. And I was like, well, if it's been written as, well, it's been written as both, I suppose. But if the intention was to choose the tracks, I'm going to choose the tracks.
So the first time I listened to it back in 2015, I listened to it all the way through, and I remember thinking, that's great, but it's a shame that he didn't do it so you could skip the tracks. But I was listening to the long version like a fucking fool. So I just kind of gone, well, they would have sent me the tracks version if they'd meant me to skip through it. And then this time I did it. And obviously, like, it's not like the most complicated thing in the world. But
no, because it's literally just like, pick the next track or the track after that. That's like what it does. But yeah.
But even so, I was really like, what a fun thing to do. And it's, you know, whether you were pressing it on a CD or have it on your iPad or whatever you were playing it on at the time, I just thought, this is, again, why has no one done this before?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because the kind of idea of, like, I didn't have time to look into this, but has anybody done the kind of interactive, because the format of the CD, and the idea of kind of like an interactive thing, that's genius. Like, skip to track 3 to continue the story.
Yeah, I mean,
or carry on listening and see what happens.
It kind of made me go, I feel a little bit like John Dorney's a great writer. He's written some fantastic big finishes, and obviously he gets the slots he's given. But I kind of wish they'd given over a whole double disc to this and done something way more complicated and interesting. Not to say this isn't interesting, because it's a fun 30 minutes.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
But I would love to hear, like, and it would be a puzzle. And I mean, we talk, you know, Rob Shearman did his like 10,000 page book or whatever it was, or 4
That's something I've still not read any of that.
Jackson's had a go at it, and he's like, it is really dark in places.
Excellent.
There's one story in it where it literally comes with a warning, and it goes, my wife hates this story, my agent hates this story, my publisher hates this story, they all told me to take it out. Are you sure you want to read? Or if you don't, skip on to the next one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll cut that bit, but just so you know. I mean, I say cut it. That is literally a story you can buy. And
it's not as if you got Rob Sherman cut.
What was I saying before we got into Rob Shearman's dark psyche? Yeah, it's a shame that they didn't do it as a full thing, but that doesn't distract from the enjoyment I got for this. And there's something about Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred being the perfect sort of companion and doctor duo to do it, because the other way to do it is you sort of do it even more tongue-in-cheek, and you have the cliched companion going off and getting into trouble and immediately dying and things like that. And there is deaths. What's great fun about this is there are points where the Doctor and companion actually die, and they are actually dead, which you never get to do in a Doctor Who story.
Exactly.
So I think he makes such good use of the format, and I'm just in awe of the fact that he managed to make it work in such a short time, conversely.
Yeah, I was expecting a bit longer, even though I knew it was kind of like 4 individual stories. So yeah, when it was like, because they're all like 24 tracks, and they're all about 2 minutes, apart from the one that's actually the ending of the story, which is like 5-6 minutes. but it's very funny.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's the same with the Lower Decks thing. It's like, yeah, you would do it in Lower Decks because it's a comedy. You could really play with the format, do some mad stuff that you wouldn't necessarily do in, like, if it was like a Star Trek: The Next Generation Choose Your Own Adventure, it'd be probably quite serious. It'd
Yeah.
be kind of William Emms level.
Yeah.
But this is, it has a lot of fun with it. Like, the aliens aren't really that threatening, and that's kind of the point. So the whole thing is that you meet this alien race who are a bit useless, but somehow have managed to subjugate a whole planet.
Yeah.
And it's and it's about you kind of trying to work out what they've done. And that plays into why there's this kind of multi-time track thing where, like, you die, but then you're reborn, you die, then you're reborn.
It's called a resurrectionist or something like that, which is a machine that resurrects the dead and can reset. So, the Doctor even says at one point, "You guys are usually really stupid. How come you've got it so right this time?" And the villain sort of goes, "Oh, with much practice." Apparently, it was supposed to be the Ogrons originally, but they were being used in another release quite soon nearby, so they just went no. But I mean, it works with these nondescript sort of pig aliens, but it would have been funny with the Ogrons.
Is John Coleshaw one of them?
Yes, he is, because he is like one of the main guests. If you're doing for an anthology release with 4 stories, you need someone who can do a lot of voices.
Yes, yeah.
So, yes, that is him.
And yeah, like I also wondered, because I remember you telling me this, that when they got Tom Baker at Big Finish, they would sometimes pitch him stories that he wouldn't necessarily want to do because they were maybe a bit more experimental.
Yeah.
But he wanted to kind of just do kind of like traditional Doctor Who that he did on the telly. This to me feels like, on the one hand, it feels like a Tom Baker story in terms of the comedy in it.
Yeah.
But then also in terms of the tone of it, like in terms of the music in it, and in terms of the fact that it's Doctor Who doing Choose Your Own Adventure, it does also feel absolutely right for the Seventh Doctor and Ace.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it kind of works for kind of both of those things. But I was just really interested. I wondered if at some point if there was a Tom Baker version of this.
Because it does have a feeling of a Graham Williams era story at the same time.
Yeah, Ace has some lines that you could definitely hear Leela saying.
Yeah.
With some tweaks,
Like, it's Doctor Who not taking itself too seriously, but with a good science fiction idea at the core, which is what season 17 is a lot of the time,
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Tonally, it's one thing, but the ideas are solid, so it sort of grounds it in a way that, perhaps there is, times where things get too silly, but I think everybody pitches it quite right. How do you feel about everybody?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really playful, but in a way that doesn't feel irritating or like over the top. Like there's the bit where it's like, do you submit to the implant or do you reject it?
Yeah.
And then you choose to reject it. No, I asked you, do you submit to the implant? And you kind of go through that. That's like a fun way of kind of playing with the format. Also, I think it doing a Choose Your Own Adventure Doctor Who story, I think, is also a really fun way to play with the format of Doctor Who. It's the same way the Lower Decks thing does. It goes, well, if this was actually happening on TV, it would be one of like 3 things. It would be a time loop. In the Star Trek one, it's like it would be a time loop, a holodeck simulation, or something else. And it's kind of about figuring that out. And it's the same here. When you're listening to it, you're going, oh, am I in a time loop?
Yeah.
Or is there something else going on? Like what? And sort of trying to work that out. It's a lot of fun. Like for like a half hour, it's essentially an extended joke reference to those books. But it works quite well as like a Doctor Who story, I think, as well.
Absolutely. I think a lot of these anthology releases suffer from, like, conversely, a lot of the time the main stories are too long at 4 episodes, but 30 minutes is quite often too short. So I've got into a lot of the anthologies going, oh, there's some nice ideas there, but it sort of,
peters out. Sort of thing.
Is that it? Whereas this finds, like, as I said, I could do with a longer version of this, but at the same time, doesn't outstay its welcome. It works perfectly for the 30 minutes it's got. And I just think it takes a very clever writer to make an idea sort of as ridiculous and silly as this feel grounded within the serious, in inverted commas, Doctor Who universe.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, like what you were saying about the Stranger Things sort of font being inspired by one of them, and it's like, I think we forget that as we get more into the sort of nostalgia decade that the last 10 years feel like it's been,
Yeah.
it's not just nostalgia for like IP in terms of, oh, we'll get Iron Man and Spider-Man and all these things together, or Omega and the Rani.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think I'm possibly finding more joy in is sort of the nostalgia, which feeds quite nicely into this, of formats. So the idea of rediscovering watching an imperfect VHS copy of something, there's something quite safe and nostalgic about it. And that there's a reason why Alien Romulus is suddenly out on VHS. There's a reason why, cool DJs are releasing albums on tapes. It's a different style of nostalgia while also still being able to consume new media. And I think it's possibly a safer way. I don't like, in terms of, rather than culture just eating itself, it's like, oh, if I can tell this new story through an old medium that will appeal to people who, like that sort of nostalgia, I think that's quite an interesting way to do things.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually. I think there is a difference between the sort of nostalgia bait and kind of having a conversation with nostalgia. And having a conversation with like old media and like old ways of telling stories and kind of doing things in a different way. I mean, that's when Charlie Brooker's really good. That's what he sometimes does. I think that is a point. And sort of doing this because 2015, we're kind of past the CD age. It is all digital.
Absolutely.
But this is very much a story that I think works better on CD than it does as a download.
Yeah, absolutely. I was skipping through the tracks on my phone, and part of me wanted to be at a CD player, pressing the button, not with the remote control, but pressing that little button.
I wanted that little portable CD player that I used to take. Oh God, I'm having a proper nostalgia rush. That I used to take to my grandparents every summer. I would work at the Fringe Festival, and that would finish at the end of August. And I would get on a coach and I would spend a couple of days with my grandparents up in the west coast of Scotland. And what I would always do was I would take my CD player with me and I would stick a couple of Big Finish CDs from that month in my bag, and I would get through those. The thought of actually being on that coach, listening to this and really pushing the buttons, oh my God, that would have been amazing.
I have similar memories. When I first moved to London, trains were too expensive. I mean, what did I know? They're even more expensive now.
But,
Christ. It was still the days where you could get a megabus ticket for £2 or whatever.
Yeah.
So wherever I was going was at least 4 hours away, and I'd have my CD player, and I had this pink folder that fitted 12 CDs in, and it would always be 6 albums and then a bunch of Big Finish. And I can remember listening to so many Big Finishes for the first time in that way. My most sort of prescient memory was of Night Thoughts, the 7th Doctor story, which is terrifying. And it was night on a motorway. And it's one of the
you talked about that on this, I remember,
I did. And it was one of the few times where I remember, like, not like, oh my God, I'm so, but like really being absorbed in the atmosphere of it and going, this is actually quite fucking scary.
I remember listening to Harvest for the first time. Sorry, The Harvest for the first time on a coach back from Tarbert, and pulling into Loch Gilphead, which is like 25 minutes away, which is the next stop on the route. Just at the end of part 1 where Hex goes inside the TARDIS. Yeah. Like, I've got distinct memories of pulling up to the RS McCall and the bus stop and all of that. Like, yeah, there is something. It's not necessarily the material, it's the engagement with the format and the way you listen to things and the way. That's why, like, I always say, like, I'll be really interested to go back to the RTD2 era, with the benefit of hindsight, because you do bring your mood at the time to these things and how you experience those things. It's not just whether or not it's a good script,
Yeah, absolutely.
You can forgive things. It's like Luke's been saying on Strangers in Space, like it's the difference between the midnight release and the 8 a.m. release.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. It's a different
But
mood.
that's a negative thing for him. But there's so many other people like Jackson who is like 8 a.m. is a much more positive thing for him. Is like it's a light, fluffy bit of kids' TV in the morning. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so yeah, like there isn't a right or wrong in that respect, but it is the engagement with media and how you view it. And I mean, would I like RTD2 more if it came on a VHS tape and I could watch it on the little old fucking TV I've got down there that I've got my Mega Drive plugged
Let's
into?
find out.
Anyway, we get sidetracked, but always room for a tangent. Is there anything else we want to say on You Are the Doctor? I feel like I say we were fired through these quite quickly. We've been here for about 2 hours, but, you know.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that. I was like, oh, yeah, we've done it all, but no,
They're very slight stories with lots of interesting sort of things to say about them, but it's not like we're going, I don't think for any of them we're going, what an amazing plot point this was. What an amazing emotional moment. It's like, it's more the format and how they exist and like when they exist that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, my last note on You Are the Doctor is it's a slight story with a fun bit of innovation.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean, I think I love that John Dorney has built in a thing where you don't have to go all the way back to track one.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just, it will just play the right one next, and you can just kind of carry on with the story, which is something obviously we didn't get. And I wonder if there was a way to restore the Warlord from where you'd fucked up, maybe we'd have enjoyed it more. I don't know.
No,
but that's
I think so. I think about that when like I've got a little Mega Drive there.
Yeah.
And the games that I can save are much more likely to go, but it only saves as long as you've got it on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because there used to be there was that whole. I mean, we're just getting into fucking nostalgia porn now, but there was that whole thing where you'd have passwords for levels, wouldn't you? So you could resume it, but it wouldn't resume your progress. It would literally just drop you back into the level you'd last been at.
Yeah, I think with the Warlord, I definitely, if I could have jumped back into where I was, like with the book, you can cheat, you know.
Oh yeah.
It sent me back to page 1 a few times. I did not go back to page 1. I went back to the last point I died.
So did I. Yeah.
So
not all day.
Exactly. We're busy people. It's just like I'm not going to pay 10 hours of Mega Drive just to get to the end because I've got an hour tops. So, You Are the Doctor. A clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
I think it's better than Mission to Venus, but I do think it's still, like I say, a slight story with some fun innovation. So does that make it an average meander?
I think it's a banger for the innovation and just fucking with the format a little bit and doing something
It is a lot of fun, and it is very funny.
Because I suppose, technically, if you cut out all the detours, it'd be just a very generic Doctor Who story, but the writer knows that.
Yeah, and you can play it through with all the different.
So
yeah, because I did really enjoy it. I love the exchange where, because the Doctors met, it's the Porcians. They're called. This is basically pig aliens. Maybe it's the Porcians that turned up at the Interstellar Songs contest and not the pig slaves. So anyway, he meets the Porcians because he met them before. And there's one of them he doesn't recognize. He's like, oh, who's this? Another one of your sons? It's like, no, that's my wife.
God.
It's just there's a lot of fun. Yeah, do you know what? It's a banger. It's great. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Also, just for having the goal to be able to kill the Doctor and Ace at multiple points is great fun, and to have them really dead, something that no Doctor Who writer can ever do.
Too hot for TV.
So we've come to the end of our wander through Choose Your Own Adventures.
Or have we? If listeners want to press next on their podcast apps, there'll just be another 2 hours of Dylan and I wanging on about the 1980s and 1990s.
Wanking over VHSs, going, wasn't it better when you couldn't see the strings? Wasn't it better? At the end of it all, do we feel, not life, we're not there, do we feel like there is more to be done with this format?
In the sense that I think that this sort of text adventure game gave way to the point and click games that I grew up with. And I am amazed that, I mean, I guess it's because of the rights issues. It's because Doctor Who kind of went off air I think there's a parallel universe out there somewhere where LucasArts released a Doctor Who game like Monkey Island or Indiana Jones and The Fate of Atlantis, like
Yeah.
that kind of like, I'm amazed they haven't tapped Telltale to try and do like a kind of interactive Doctor Who game. I think that is the next frontier, is to kind of, typically for Doctor Who, everything's already done it. The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead was a game before it was a TV show. I think that's right. I might be wrong, actually, now that I say that.
It sounds true, so let's say it is.
I think, an interactive Doctor Who episode that is a game. We've had the adventure games. They were kind of like that, but they weren't really... I still think they were very much that kind of like, it's running around solving problems and shooting things and zapping things. I want the kind of like, you've got all this stuff in your pocket and that stuff somehow solves the various situations you're in. I want Doctor Who on Monkey Island. Give me Doctor Who on Monkey Island and I will die a happy man.
I've said it before, we've even said it in this podcast, no one's cracked the Doctor Who computer game, and that could be an interactive version of something like this. It could be some VR experience, it could be some AI experience that we haven't even thought of yet, but nobody has cracked it.
I think the closest is that Weeping Angels mobile game. That was really good, but it wasn't really, because you're not the Doctor and you're not the companion, you're somebody who's found a phone. And it's like a really good bit of Doctor Who spin-off media. But it's like it's not scratching the itch you want for like a Doctor Who game. But it's quite a good interactive episode, I guess. But that's the closest I think we've got.
Well, there we go. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll be back here in 2 years' time with the best Doctor Who find your own adventure, make your own adventure. It'll be interactive. I'll be in Jodie Whittaker, and I don't mean that in a pervy way. So, Mark, is there anything you want to plug while you're here?
Sure. I don't know when this is going out, so it's hard to say. But
I would say within the next 6 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, in that case, we're in the middle of a new series of In the Time Lash. So I can confirm at this point, we've got some good guests lined up. Ben's going to come back and do a couple as well, so that's going to be really nice. So I've recorded a really good chat with Ian Martin of We're All Stories in the End and the Electric Sodcast and All the Time and Space and all the podcasts. Ben and I are going to do one with Richie Morgan of I Hate Doctor Who. Liam of This Parish.
Brilliant.
We're going to do one with him. And I'm going to do one with Cy Hart as well, because he's one of the nicest men in Doctor Who fandom. What could he possibly hate about Doctor Who?
Imagine if you got Cy Hart to be a proper hater.
I think I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Bring out the angry side of Cy Hart.
So In the Time Lash is coming back. But I don't want people listening to this who haven't heard it to think it's one of those kind of like really awful things you see on the internet where it's just people willfully hating things for no good reason. My whole thing within the Time Lash is that we talk about the things we don't like about Doctor Who in order to get at the things that we do like. That's the fun of it. That's when it's good.
No, it's not just Eric Saywood shit. Fuck Eric Saywood. It's like this type of storytelling, this sort of behaviour within fandom, things like that.
Yeah.
It's a hoot.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I had a great time tossing things into the Time Lash with you.
Yeah, I think we let you toss all 5 things, was it? Or maybe 4 out of 5?
I think it was 5. I think it was the greatest moment of my life.
Well, JR got 4. So yeah, I think you're the only one to get 5.
Yes. What a winner. Until Cy Hart charms you because he's the nicest man in fandom. Next time, I'll be joined by a new guest, Joe, a.k.a. Mad Paddington, and we'll be discussing 2 of the 9th Doctor's adventures. First up, it's Salvation 9, and then it's the Seas of Titan. Well, until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Mark.
And this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV. Choose your own adventure.
hot for TV.
Excellent. I've changed my mind. I need a drink. Give me 1 second. I'm going to have a beer.
Oh, okay.
I don't have enough to do choose your own adventure, so I'm just having a Big Frank DIPA.
Ooh, Big Frank. Well, double IPA as well.
Yeah.
God, you've gone. Do you know what? I will have a drink, and I'm going to
I'll
have the
have this-
strongest IPA I could possibly find in
I'll
my
have
fridge.
this 8%er. Oh, well. The feelings come back in my face, and actually it's quite painful, so I thought the alcohol would help. That's my excuse when Daisy gets back and she goes, "Have you been drinking?" And I'm like, yes, I have.